Welcome back, everybody, to Out of Reese's podcast. I'm your host, Reese Shalvis. Joining me on the podcast, we got Skylar Bytendorp, local Utah podcaster, Utah Podcast Studio, Hustlers Podcast, or Utah Hustlers Podcast.
Yep. Mm-hmm.
Welcome on, man.
Dude, thanks for having me on. I've been looking forward to this.
Yeah, of course. Me too. I was on your podcast not too long ago. A month ago or so.
Yeah, about a month ago. That was a fun conversation.
Yeah, that was a lot of fun, and now here you are downtown.
yeah, because we have the podcasting in common, and so we talked a lot of podcast things, and really got my mind opened up to like, oh, what about this angle on a podcast? Or
right, yeah, we were just kind of talking about that, and you've had some pretty cool ideas that, I've kind of been seeing you on Instagram, just kind of what you're talking about doing, so. It's cool. And you said, I can't remember. You said, how long had you been doing podcasting for?
Since 2021. That's when I started.
Okay. So that's around the time I kind of started, really.
Okay, cool.
So that's pretty cool.
Yeah.
I love your studio, though. That's super nice.
Thank you. Yeah, I was living there before, like, there was a couch, TV, whole setup. It's like a one-bedroom apartment for everybody listening. It was a one-bedroom apartment, and I just took all the furniture out, gutted it, and then painted the walls, put like some of similar to what Reese has here on the back of his walls on mine, and created one set in the living room and then a set in the bedroom, and made it a podcast studio. Yeah,
super nice. Right now, we're just kind of working with what we got now, but it's so far working.
Dude, if you saw me like day one with what I had and how I was setting it up, it was like not pretty.
Right.
So it's you got to start where you're at, and like mine, I still feel like my studio is kind of like in its infancy.
Yeah.
Like there's probably like another $10,000 worth of equipment I want to get or upgrade in order to get to the level I want to.
Yeah, I definitely feel that. Like I feel like I've come a long way from where I started, having bed sheets draped behind me, and just a cheap setup and now I feel like there's still so much further I can really improve on, grow, get to that level.
Yeah, it's one step at a time.
So with your podcast, Utah Hustlers Podcast, you bring on like guests that usually they're entrepreneurs or like business owners in Utah, right? And how's that kind of like, how's that getting, hearing, their perspectives, their experiences, being a Utah entrepreneur, what kind of like influences that have on your own business, your own work that you're doing? Even though it's different, what kind of like similarities does that have? Yeah,
so like I mean, the biggest thing I've learned and have seen from the different entrepreneurs I've had in, and for a little context on the show, I'm guessing most people haven't listened to my show. They listened to yours though, right? So, but mine is, like you said, Utah Hustlers, and it's basically just how to build your business to $10,000 a month. And so I only bring on guests that have at least done that. So they've built a business where they're taking home $10K a month. So I'm just like, how'd you do it? And so I ask them questions. I mean, some of them are like sales experts. Others are really good at marketing. Others are good at like social media specifically. And so I just go deep into that one subject with each one of them. But I think the biggest thing that has helped me grow my business and that I've seen grow others is the networking part of it. Like going to networking events or doing podcasts like this, and meeting people and building relationships. Like relationships is what makes money. Like everything you want is on the other side of another person. Even if you're just going to the store to buy something, like there's someone that you have to talk to or give the money to, or that has to be there to run everything in order for you to get what you want. So it's just relationships are everything, and that's the biggest similarity I've seen from my business and from everyone that's coming in is it's all about relationships.
Yeah, I definitely agree with that. With where I've gotten to, like getting this space downtown, building up the set that I have, and just the people I've met, I wouldn't have gotten here if it wasn't for like my network and people I've met along the journey. Like a big part of that was just going to these events. When I'd shoot these podcasts at these events, interviewing tons of people, that not only built my network, but it just gave me experiencing like just talking to people and just learning like really how to talk to people.
So did you go to events like and just sit down with a mic and just had people come and chat with you?
So it was like these hip hop like Utah underground hip hop events, kind of pop out events, right? So there was like different local artists just coming to perform on stage. There's just a bit, big audience that come and just kind of enjoy the music. There's vendors kind of planted all around with selling their clothes, selling their merchandise, whatever. And I just would, I'd talk to the owners of these events, talk to them about, hey, I got a podcast, let's set something up. So they'd get me a little space set up, and I'd be able to just bring on the event, runners, or just the other artists that are performing. They'd just jump on just kind of back to back, like, all right, we got this guy in, come on, let's talk to him.
Cool.
Maybe some of the vendors I'd go up to, be like, hey, you want to hop on a podcast? Just ask you a few questions, and they'd come on for like 5 to 10 minutes, just talk, and usually I'd cut the podcast together in just one long, like, hour and a half event of just all the segments with just timestamps, for all of it.
Yeah.
And that's just where I got, like, that's how I got comfortable just interviewing somebody that I just met. Is just from doing those events.
That's really cool. Yeah, I ought to do that. Like, just go to an event, maybe like down at the, what's it called? The Expo Center?
Yeah, where they have all those, like, conventions.
Is that where you would go?
So not that specifically.
Okay.
It was a lot smaller places. So, like, it'd probably be like a warehouse where they're throwing this hip hop event, right? With, like, the main stage area, maybe a little area for vendors, kind of thing.
Okay.
Like Utah Sugar Space was one place we went, which was a pretty cool venue. But yeah, usually just smaller venues is where we kind of go for these events.
Yeah. I ought to do that at the small event, or even like at the expo. Like I wonder if they'd be cool with me. It's like, hey, can I just set something up in the corner, or maybe get a booth on my own,
right?
And just set it up and be like, hey, who wants a 5-10 minute podcast interview, and just have people sign up.
Yeah, I was actually so there was like a tattoo expo like last month or so, and I was actually trying to reach out to them. It just kind of slipped our minds, so we didn't end up going, but we wanted to reach out, just be like, hey, can we like kind of show up as vendors, with a podcast, and just talk to some of the tattoo artists and the other people kind of going, and it didn't end up happening. But like, that's the kind of stuff that I want to start moving into, because before, the events were always just like kind of music related. I went to a punk rock event. There was like 3 or 4 hip hop events that I went to last year. So just kind of stuff like that. But I want to kind of start going to more kind of different type of events, convention centers, about anything really.
Yeah. No, that's cool. Yeah. I mean, podcasting, it's not something that, like, for me, I was really comfortable with at first.
Right.
Like, I remember like the first time, like, I was breathing heavy. I could feel my heart beating faster.
Right.
And then now it's just like you just interviewed so many people and had these one-on-one conversations that now it's kind of more second nature.
Right. Exactly. Yeah. It becomes a lot easier. And when I first had started, the biggest thing that always get me when I started interviewing people was like, in my mind, I'd freeze up a little bit, because I'm like, I don't know what to say or ask. I mean, I'd have the few questions prepared and just stuff I wanted to talk about, but I just like not think like, oh, what do I got to say? Like, I don't even know what to talk about really. But I kind of realized, and this is something big that I learned when it comes to talking to people, is like, if you just stop focusing on what you're going to say and just focus on what they're saying, you're not thinking of responses. You're just thinking about like what they're saying. Naturally, you'll just have stuff pop into your head, and I had to get out of my own head to like learn how to talk to people like that. Because I was thinking too much. I was less focused on what they're saying and just thinking more like, I don't know what I'm going to say. And that would like hurt the podcast, hurt the flow of it. I'd lose my train of thought all the time because of that.
Yeah.
Right. So I feel like I just had to learn how to get out of my head and just listen to them.
Yeah. And that's just good communication advice in general, is like, just anytime you're having a conversation with somebody, don't think about what you're going to say. Right. Until they're like, while they're still talking, because then you're going to miss some of it.
Right. Exactly.
So just wait until they're done talking and then respond. Just absorb the information.
It's kind of interesting coming from being like that for like my whole life and learning how to talk to people. It's like, I'll start like throwing out natural responses that are like really solid. And I'm thinking like, where did that come from? That's crazy. I didn't think I could just whip stuff out like that, but yeah, I don't know. but yeah, it's, what kind of events do you think you'd be going to if you were to start like doing that?
Yeah, it's a good question. 'Cause first place I'd probably look is the expo, just 'cause like that's the main place I've been to events where there's a lot of different booths or just big things going on. And what I would probably do to just promote my business personally is maybe get a big sign that says Utah Podcast Studio, and just I don't know, put it above me, below me, and then just set up a microphone, cameras, lights, all that stuff.
Yeah,
and
that'd be.
I don't know if I would interview people or be like, hey, want to start your podcast right now today? Like, come record. We'll do all the video editing and everything for you, and just
that's kind of cool. Like start your own podcast right now.
Yeah, and then you can continue on at the studio.
Right. Yeah, the one issue we had at these events is no matter how much we tuned the mics, it still pick up some like because the music is so loud at these events.
Yeah.
There's still the background noise. You hear people maybe chatting in the background, or so it's not a great environment to actually like. I would say like when it comes to like shooting the actual like podcast, if you're to like, I think if you were to like have that at the expo center and like, you know, bring clients on like, hey, start your episode here.
Mm-hmm.
I would keep in mind that there's going to be a lot of background noise likely that the mics will pick up, you know what I mean?
True.
And kind of that, you know, atmosphere. So that's just something to keep in mind.
Yeah. I didn't think about the fact that there would be music. And so, yeah, maybe that would make it not work. Or I just have to turn the gain down really low. So it's like you just have to be right up on that mic in order to like actually hear him talk.
Right,
like you talk
right.
at a normal level, but maybe just really close, you know?
Yeah.
And maybe that would do it where it's not picking up anything else. Yeah.
Yeah, I definitely have to mess with that more because as far as those events that I went to, it was impossible to completely get rid of the background sound.
Makes sense.
But again, you know, those expo centers are a lot more open and bigger than the events that I, you know, was going to. So maybe it's something you could achieve there rather than, you know, the events because it was small enclosed events.
Mm-hmm.
So like the sound just traveled through the entire building.
Yeah.
Really loud. But I don't know. That could be a cool idea though.
Yeah.
I mean, or even just like have people like come on as like kind of show them like this is what you could be getting kind of thing. Like I don't know, it's like a little demo, you know.
Right.
Let them shoot a demo.
Yeah.
That,
That's a good idea. The demo, like show them like, I mean, that is the hard part because like I want to show them a demo on how good it can be and how good it is at the studio, but I have more control over the lighting at the studio and the sound and the video, and it wouldn't quite portray what I'm able to create for somebody there or what like you would be able to create for somebody here. Like you've got the lighting, cameras, everything. Like you've got an awesome setup here. But if you were to take your stuff to the expo where all this sound and light is, it wouldn't sound as good as it does here.
Right, and the lighting would be probably the worst part that you're messing with, right? Because I mean, I guess that's less important than the audio quality,
right?
But I mean, with how bright those lights are, I mean, you're kind of battling, you know, overexposed kind of lighting and all that kind of stuff. But I'm sure you could figure something out.
Yeah, I think so. So what's your goal with this podcast as far as like where you're like, I'm always curious, like what people start a podcast for one reason and they always want to take it to a certain spot. Like where do you envision this show going?
I honestly envision myself just traveling the world like in a couple different ways. So like I want to be able to travel the world with like kind of travel podcasting equipment, interviewing like people. It could be entrepreneurs in different parts of the world, creatives, you know, artists, different kind of things. And just like get their experiences, their perspectives and life, whatever, their culture and stuff, and just kind of share that with people, inspire people. And I either want to do that with like the travel equipment, or I also like, I want to really open up like a studio in like Tokyo, Japan.
Oh, that'd be so cool.
Maybe open up a studio somewhere in Europe, right? And so maybe when I'm in those places, I can just shoot kind of in the home studio there.
Yeah.
Anywhere else I go to, I just have my travel equipment. So it'll kind of go back and forth from shooting in studio to shooting wherever I'm going, you know.
Can I show you a picture?
Yeah.
Okay, so I saw this sometime a little while back someone has a box. I don't know if the camera will pick that up, but it's like one of those protective boxes and they have a camera in it and then the interface and everything's run off just batteries because microphones really don't take as much batteries as you think, right? Especially when they're like this big microphone, you think, oh, draws a lot of power, but no, you can run them off of like 2 AA batteries.
Right, yeah.
Which is wild. But, or maybe it's 4. Anyway, but, he just brings that box around and just the way he constructed it is like the arms just fold in. And so he opens the box, arms fold out, and then there's a camera that gets like the wide shot. And I think it's all synced together. So the interface is plugged into the camera's like headphone jack. And so he just hits record on the camera and he's
That's
good to go.
Yeah, that's like exactly the kind of thing.
So like you could just do that. Just bring the studio around with you.
Just like you just have it as your personal item on the plane or whatever.
Yeah.
Like that'd be perfect. And I know like they make like those battery powered like XLR plugs that like is Bluetooth and it powers this. It's like it's rechargeable. It powers the mic. So it turns your mic wireless and then you have the receiver plugging into whatever interface you want. And it's all Bluetooth.
I didn't know that was a thing.
I'm sure I've never used one, but I'm sure there's like a delay you'd probably have to adjust in post production.
Yeah.
Which, because I don't think it's fast enough for instant, feedback and whatnot.
Yeah, the lips moving and the audio would be off.
Right. Yeah. Exactly.
Yeah, that makes sense.
So you'd have to kind of sync that up, which without a source of audio from the vid, like if so like for example, when I'm shooting. Since this audio is not hooked up to the camera, it's pretty easy to sync because I'm just using the camera audio and syncing that with the mic audio.
Mm-hmm.
But if you don't have that second audio to sync together, then it's
a lot harder.
It's so hard.
Yeah. Yeah. Like I remember I used to do it on phones. Like we'd have my buddy's phone and then my phone. We record each other and we have the mics and we just do like a little like clap right before so that way we can see the spike in the audio and line it up.
Line up the spikes.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's a process, really. I mean, like, especially when you don't have the equipment to just everything all sync together in one spot.
Yeah.
It's quite a process trying to just put everything together before you actually start the actual editing itself.
Oh, no. Yeah, podcasting was a lot more work than I realized it would be.
Oh, yeah. Definitely.
A lot more work.
How would you say it, like, your expectations of starting a podcast kind of affected or changed once you actually started doing it?
Yeah, because I think there's, like, different levels of podcast. Like when I first started, it was a lot of work, but I was like brand new. I was excited, like super excited about it. And so I didn't mind all the extra work. And then now that I have like a lot of the pro equipment and everything syncing together, so I don't have to do that post-production now.
Right.
It's just all in one file. But I think the part that really, because I mean, it depends on if you content edit or not.
Yeah.
Because like with Utah Hustlers, I would record an hour and then turn it into 35 minutes. And so I'm doing like word by word editing.
Like slivers, just like
compressing and making it sound like there was no edit there.
Right.
And it took me 4 or 5 hours per episode. So the episodes are amazing and sound really good. They are just the highlights of the whole conversation. And it's just like gold. But that took so long. And so when I really figured out like, hey, that's the best way to edit, but it's just really time consuming. Like that I didn't expect to be doing. I thought I would just be doing a podcast. I mean, that's just what my coach told me to do at the time. And he said like, if you can, hire it out because it is time consuming. There's other people that are just really good at it. So they're efficient.
Way fast and they just
because
I'm
sure if I showed him like my process, he'd be like, Skylar, what are you doing, man? Because it was seriously like 4 or 5, sometimes 6 hours for one episode.
Have you ever thought about using like any kind of AI tools that naturally just like do that kind of stuff? Yeah,
and I used some to help with that, but AI just wasn't good enough where it could really take out much of the work for me. Because there is an AI tool that I used, and it was like, hey, take out the low points or the things that don't matter as much. And I listened to it, and it just wasn't good. It wasn't engaging to me. I didn't get the information that I wanted to. Because like if I have in my title, it's like how to get 100,000 Instagram followers in 30 days, which is not a podcast that I would know how to create because I don't know how to do that. But if it was to call it that, I need to make sure the episode has the information in there on how to do that. And so I would, record an episode and it'd be about marketing or door-to-door sales. And the AI just couldn't really mesh it together in a way that really delivered on the promise that the title made.
It kind of just like goes off of, pre-entered data that maybe isn't fit what you're doing exactly because everyone kind of develops their own style, so it can't really recreate the style you're going for, right? And the kind of information that you're trying to get out. So that makes sense. I've been looking a lot into AI, especially when it comes to like production creation.
Yeah, it helps
for just like helping. Yeah, like one thing that actually just tried for the first time was an AI that automatically makes you clips and edits.
It's so awesome.
And like, they're making clips better than I make them, right? Like when I'm adding subtitles myself, I'm like, yeah, this looks fine. And I see what this AI does, I'm like, this looks good. Like this looks better than what I'm doing. So I tried that for the first time, and it worked out really well.
Yeah, especially like the paid stuff. Like free AI is at one level, but paid is at another.
Yeah.
And it's pretty wild, because that's what I did. Because I was just going and finding, like, I had a client that was like, hey, here's $100. I was like, okay, I'll make you 10 clips. Went through their hour episode. Took me like 3 hours to create them 10 to 12 clips. And then I found the AI thing right after that and just threw it in there and was able to create the same amount of clips in like a half hour.
Right, exactly. Like it's crazy how fast it just boom, boom, just does it, right? It just was like the one I threw it into. It was like estimated time like 20 minutes. I'm like, that's not bad. So I just waited 20 minutes, and then it sent me an email. Hey, your clips are here. Sent me 100 clips, and I was just scrolling through them playing. I'm like, and it detected everything we were saying. It even writes a description about what we're talking about in the clip, titles the clip based on the, the context. And I'm like, how is it this good? Like, when did AI get like this good? It's like kind of crazy. Definitely see some flaws in it still, for sure. Like pretty big ones, but
yeah, I still go and edit the ones that AI makes for me. So I still think it needs a human touch, but it's good enough where you don't have to go search for the high point. You can just find it, and then I just usually try to make the beginning just as like snappy and as give it as much of a hook as possible.
Right, exactly. It's crazy. I have had the thought that like one day there might be like podcasters that if they like get lazy or whatever, or even just new podcasts, they just do fully just voice generated AI podcasts where like, which I would never go that route, because I enjoy just sitting behind a mic and talking, but it's going to come, there's people, because have you heard those like text to speech AI voices that sound like almost real?
Yeah.
Or like they even take like Joe Rogan's voice, write something out, and it almost sounds like it's actually Joe Rogan saying it or something. It's like, like that's going to happen. They're going to start doing full blown like podcast episodes. I wouldn't even be surprised if there's already some podcasts out there like that.
Yeah, and it's like scary to think about, but also someone gave me this perspective on it. They were saying like, okay, imagine there's a famous painter and he hand paints a painting.
Right.
That's going to be worth a lot of money. Now, if they take that same painting, scan it, and do prints of it, like authorized prints, and maybe the prints are even signed by the painter, they're at one level, right? And then if you take the painting and like buy it online and just print it out yourself, it's worth that, right? But the human touch that's the one that's worth $50,000 because a human person did it.
Exactly.
And so I think with podcasts, that's going to be very similar, where like you can usually tell when it's AI.
Yeah.
Sometimes you can't. Sometimes you're like, wait, that was AI. But like I think most of the time we can tell it's AI.
Usually that like the monotone kind of, like at least for when it comes to the voice side of it.
And so I don't think people are going to be able to hide that they're like fully using AI.
At least not yet.
At least not yet. I know, right? Next year you will.
Right.
But I think the people that are doing it themselves are going to be seen as more authentic, more real, and they're going to want to work with them over someone who's using AI.
Yeah, one thing that's kind of interesting to think about is like, let's take YouTube, right? Back in early YouTube days when people would just post whatever, and it was more of a hobby, right? You just post your hobbies pretty much onto YouTube, and people would, and then they started monetizing it. 2006 or 7, I think, was the first YouTube monetization, and it turned into like a full on like almost like celebrity like career, because like you got all this money, all these followers, but it was like pretty rare to like make a living off of YouTube. Is like if you're making a living, you're usually doing pretty good on it. But it's gotten to a point where it's like there's people starting YouTube channels that are just making like enough to like get by through AI, through different softwares, just throwing stuff together, following the algorithm, that it's become like an actual job for like most YouTubers for their YouTube channel, right? Where it's not just they're posting their hobby and making money. It's a full-on business now. Yeah. And I just think that's kind of like, I think that's how it's going to be in general with as AI evolves, AI is going to become like something used by a lot of people to like just work pretty much to just in that same way, right? And I think it's the artists that are using their phone, like, their whole touch, their, human touch or whatnot.
Yeah.
That's going to be like the ones that stand out the most. Because if most people are just using AI and creating content, the real humans are the ones that are going to like stick out,
Totally.
through that.
Yeah. And if you're using your content to get business like that, you're going to have, I believe more people work with you because they know this is you.
Right.
So
exactly.
I think I don't think it'll hurt people's businesses more than it'll help. But like for my podcast, I'd use AI to create clips. I'd still go touch it, but I use it to create clips. But I also create blog posts with the AI, and I wouldn't go through and read the blog post because how many people actually sit there and read every blog post?
Right.
Usually it's just a little section of it, like they're trying to answer one question. And so I would create the blog post and just throw it up there, just because I just skim over it and like, okay, it looks good. But like that's something where I feel like it's a little harder when it's in text,
right?
To know whether an AI wrote it or are you a really good writer or did you pay a human to write it? So.
Yeah, definitely. It is kind of interesting. I've noticed something with AI. Is AI has already like developed its own style. So like, let's say like AI generated art. There's usually a certain look to it that you can just like tell like, oh, that's AI generated.
Yeah.
Right. And it's kind of interesting. Like, in a way it's stealing other people's like, say, artwork, because it's essentially just scanned a bunch of different art and how to put it together to create its own using the combination of every style it's scanned. But in doing so, it's kind of created its own style, which I thought was kind of interesting. And that's kind of how it is with like just kind of any kind of auto generation, you know what I mean? But yeah, it's just weird. AI is kind of it's like one of those weird things. Like, it's super useful when you're using it as tools for like, say, you're developing your podcast and whatnot. But I don't think it should be something we ever 100% just rely on for everything, right? Because it seems like people are trying to push for that,
Yeah, and it's funny being in the content creation like space, because I very much believe that we need less technology, not more. Because like we used to just carry around our cell phones.
Right.
Now it's cell phones. I brought a laptop here today. A lot of people have a smartwatch or like even the Apple Vision, like the VR goggles.
Yeah.
They have those. I used to have the Google Homes around my apartment.
Yeah.
And while those were super helpful and cool, I got rid of them because I just feel like it was almost distracting having them, because I'd be like, hey, Google, answer this question, And so I got rid of them and realized I don't miss them. And I think that's the point where I realize it's like, I feel better not having as much technology around.
It feels like freeing.
Yeah.
It's almost like your mind's in a cage when you're just surrounded by it, but when you just aren't using it, like I feel like the only reason I will choose to like bring my phone with me if I go hiking is to use it for photos or something, right?
Yeah.
And but the times I've left my phone at home to go hiking or go out into nature or just go anywhere, it just feels kind of good that I'm not just like checking it and looking for messages or whatnot. And I just feel like I can live in the moment, like just better.
Yeah. Technology is one of those things where it's less is more. Like if you want to experience more real life, just get rid of the phone. Like you said, like just not having the phone on you, like it's almost like your eyes are open wider and you just notice more.
Right. You become a lot more aware.
It's more rich, your life. And yeah, it's wild.
I've talked to my roommate, who's also my best friend. I've tried to convince him, like, bro, let's just like go like without phones. Let's like switch to like flip phones and just like rely on that, because I hate texting on a flip phone and whatnot, and only have to use my smartphone if it's like for business related stuff.
Yeah.
So maybe I'll like leave that in the car or whatever, right? And I don't know, it's definitely harder to do that with how reliant businesses are on like cell phones now. Like it's almost like just to have a job you have to have a cell phone, or like a smartphone. I mean,
yeah,
you like can't have a flip phone, because how I clock in at work is on my phone, right? Like they have the apps you have to download and stuff. So it is hard to get away from it without, if you're in like say what we're doing, like podcasting and whatnot. But
Yeah.
It is nice.
I wouldn't mind going back to flip phones, honestly, like dumb phones.
Right, me too. It'd be so nice.
But like, I guess we could, because I've thought about this too. Is like we can kind of turn our smartphones into dumb phones if we just don't download any apps.
Right.
And we only have texting, calling, maybe GPS. I don't know. I'd like the weather on it. Like
right.
To me, that benefits my life, knowing what the weather's going to be like, so I dress accordingly. But like, I even have mine. Like, I kind of forgot, but I even have mine where if I click the power button 3 times, it goes to black and white, and so it's just less stimulating to the eye. So I'm on it less. It's not as there's not as much dopamine that hits when I'm looking at my phone because it's just black and white. So I think there's little things like that we can do to make it less.
For sure. I think, I mean, cell phones are designed, apps are designed to keep your attention, to keep you using it more. So if you can dumb down the designs that, cause you to feel that dopamine when you're using it, it's a lot easier to just not use it.
Yeah.
Like I've done a couple like technology fasts, and where I literally would just I'd pretty much allow myself maybe 20 minutes total of phone use a day, or 20 or 30 minutes. And I'd actually keep my track of how much, and the only reason to use that time is to like just stay in contact with people, plan stuff with people if I'm, going out. But other than that, I wasn't allowed to use my phone or my computer or anything during these fasts. And I feel like I learned to like connect with the world, like physically, a lot more. Yeah. And just like experience life when I was on those fasts.
Yeah. Technology's, dude, it's such a blessing and a curse at the same time. Like, it definitely makes our lives like be able to do more, but at the same time also do less, because we're so, and I should say like, just sometimes technology is just easier. It's easier to turn on a movie than it is to plan for a road trip and go buy the food and like go travel out there. It's also less expensive. And so I find myself like a lot of weekends, like sitting down, watching a movie or I don't know, just something local. But if there wasn't as much technology, I'd probably go out and go on more road trips and travel more. 'Cause it's like, that's the only thing what else is there to do?
Well, yeah. One thing I find crazy about, like, especially with cell phones, is like how much of like, I know there's kind of a common saying that the older generation likes to say about the younger generation, like, oh, everyone's addicted to their phone. Like, the younger generation's just addicted to their phone. Yeah. But I think like most generations now are like, can't not look at their phone. Like for example, when I go out to the grocery store or just go out and anywhere that I'm waiting or someone's standing there waiting for more than 5-10 seconds, the first thing they do is pull out their phone. And they just start checking it. And it's it's like most people don't just like sit there anymore and just kind of like, like
just observe.
Right, exactly. Everyone's on their phone, and it's crazy to me that even like most adults do that now. Yeah. And you just look around and you're like I do it. Like I'm not any different.
Oh, yeah, I'm guilty. Very
right,
guilty.
Exactly.
Of it too.
It's just how society is now, and it's I'm trying to break away from that, but it's really hard. It's like it is pretty tough.
Yeah, it's funny because we hear a lot about like, oh, kids are always on their iPads and now adults are. I was at my friend's wife's parents' house the other day, just hanging out for a second, and their grandparents were over, and they were both sitting on the couch on their phones, scrolling, just looking at reels, like I do, like like kids do, like adults do. And it's like hasn't just affected the younger, like it's everybody.
My grandpa, I see him scrolling on his phone. I'm like, Grandpa, what? My grandma's addicted to Candy Crush Saga.
Oh, yeah.
She's like really good at it. She's like all caught up on all the puzzles and everything. It's like, dang, Grandma.
And like when I think about it, it's like, is there anything wrong with sitting there and just like, if you just enjoy scrolling on your phone, is there anything wrong with that? To me, not really. But like, if it gets in the way of your responsibilities or your family, or if you're, ignoring your kid or your parent or someone because of the phone, or you're addicted enough to it where you're not going to work, or just, or maybe your health is declining and you're still on it. Like, I think that's when it becomes a real problem. But it's like, really, if that's what you want to do, go for it.
I definitely agree with you there. My one like kind of issue with like, I mean, like you're 100% right, but I think the problem I've seen a lot is most people to a certain level do let it like distract them. including myself. Like, for example, if I get home, I'm like planning to go to the gym. I'm like, all right, I'm going to go to the gym as soon as I get home from work. I get home from work. I'm like, let me just scroll for a little bit. I'll start scrolling. And as I start scrolling, my motivation to go to the gym just starts to drop. Yeah. And it becomes harder and harder to actually like put the phone down and just go. You know what I mean? Right. And I know a lot of people struggle with that. And so I think, you know, like everything should be used in like moderation. Mm-hmm. But I think the fact of the matter is, with how first world society is, a lot of people just don't use it in moderation. Yeah. They overuse things, including myself, you know?
Yeah, no, it's true. And that's like a perfect example where if you're losing motivation and you're not actually going to go to the gym like you told yourself you would, like that, you know, that's the problem. And like I'm in the bad habit where I get on my phone right before bed and scroll and just like,
yeah, that's a
and
big
it's just
one
habit.
for
Or
me.
even if I'm like, oh, I need to text that person back, I'll grab my phone and it's just immediately my thumbs start going to like Instagram. It's like, what am I doing on here? Like I'm supposed to be texting this person back.
It's like you have that muscle memory of just one page over, one page up, and then there's the app.
Yeah,
right
I should
there,
like
or something.
Like
you know?
put it in a folder in like a couple pages.
Yeah.
Just make it really annoying to get to, or just for a while I deleted it off my phone and just had it on my iPad. Yeah, because I'm not going to take my iPad everywhere with me, and I believe for me, if I'm going to be on social media, it should be benefiting me in some way or another.
And not wasting time.
And so it should be helping promote my business or you know, marketing in some way. Because that's really like if I wasn't a business owner, I would delete social media because it wouldn't benefit me in any way besides distract me from real life. Yeah. But since you and I are entrepreneurs and we are podcasters, like social media is how we market what we're doing.
Exactly. Yeah. No. Exactly. One thing I've actually done for that is I've deleted all social media, and then I had to use it in the browser version on the like Google Chrome app. Okay. Right. So I have to go to the browser, even if I leave the tabs open. The browser versions on the phone suck. Like they're so hard to use because it's just not as smooth. It's not as easy. So I just don't spend time on it unless it's like for something I need to get done for like the business or something. And so when I have it deleted and I go to Instagram, I'm not scrolling reels on the browser version because it's just not easy to do so.
That's a good tip. I didn't think about that.
It was actually my brother that showed me that one. He's like, yeah, if I got to watch YouTube because I spend too much time watching shorts, I have to go to the browser version and it sucks. So I'm just not even spending time on it.
Yeah. Because it's like if you need it, you have access to it. Right. But it's hard enough to use and like annoying enough where you're not going to just like waste a ton of time on it. Yeah. That's cool. I like that.
Yeah. It's pretty nice. But like, have you like, do you see yourself falling into like the social media traps where like kind of you feel like you're on like a kind of like just a cycle of going from one app to the next and then just wasting your time and then think like, oh dude, I got to get off this, and then you're back on it. You know what I mean?
Yeah, 100%. And so I'm not sure exactly what the fix is for that. It's probably an accountability partner, or I know you can put limits on your phones. Yeah. And if you have someone else, like I think it's the parental control or setting. So if you have your like a good friend or something like that, like put the settings on your phone, like you get this long per day, like maybe it's 30 minutes. And you know if you know that you need to put a post on every day, or you need to interact with people or message back every day on social media, it's like if you know you only have 30 minutes, then you're going to use that first. Right. And then you won't be able to get past it. So maybe that's a good way to do it. But yeah, I do see myself falling in that trap for sure.
Yeah. One of the things that my technology fast that I've done really taught me was discipline, because in my mind, I was so dedicated to the fast. It was like, I only have 20 minutes to use my phone, so I have to make it count. I can't be on scrolling Instagram for the 20 minutes I'm allowed using it because I'm trying to message people. I'm trying to get things, set, right? Or things planned or whatever. And so I learned to like discipline myself to just not waste time doing like a technology fast. And I want to do another one. It is hard now that when you're actually running a business that requires you to use, technology a lot more. But it definitely helps. It helps in a lot of ways like that. Yeah. With like the discipline.
I ought to do that technology fast, but and maybe I just pay someone, because honestly, it'd be worth it if I just paid someone to do what I do on social media just to do that. Because I'd probably make that income up in productivity that I would now have from not even having it on my phone.
Exactly. Right. Yeah. It's the amount of time I could have spent doing marketing or promotional stuff, instead I'm scrolling on Instagram Reels. It's like, dang.
Ooh, here's a couple things I did for me is like, okay, if I'm going to scroll, I can, but I have to comment on every reel or maybe like 1 out of every 5 reels, because commenting, if people comment back or they like what you said or you're funny or whatever, they're going to go visit your profile and see what you're about, or they're going to like it. And so that will tell Instagram like, okay, this guy's not just promoting, but he's also participating. And Instagram likes it, or any social media platform likes it.
So they just like that you're engaging with the content in general.
Especially if people are liking your comment or commenting on your comment, then the algorithm is like, okay, this guy's entertaining. Like, let's push his content because people are clearly liking what he's saying. So I think there's some rules you can put in place where it's like, okay, you can continue what you're doing, but you must like kind of eat the broccoli with the mac and cheese together. Like you kind of got to like do a little work and comment. So I've been trying to do that. Like when I remember to, I'll leave a comment. And one comment I did make got like 5,000-6,000 likes on it. And so like people were kind of just following me kind of randomly, or
really,
I don't know, I just saw a little boost in Instagram activity.
That's so interesting because like I've had some comments. I mean, usually it's just on some dumb post and it's something funny that, like I've had a few comments. One got over 100,000 likes. Woo. I'm like, whoa! I didn't get any followers from it though. That's why I think that's kind of interesting. But
yeah.
But I think also my main account, my Reese Shalvis account, isn't right now really set up to like as someone trying to make content. My out at Reese's, Instagram is, but this one's not. But but yeah, I've had like a few comments to get like 100,000 likes, 80,000 likes. I'm like, and it like that alone motivates me. I'm like, is this a sign that I should just start producing content or something? And so I'm like, I don't know. I think I just need to start really upping my like Instagram content and stuff because it can just randomly pop off like that.
Yeah, and I've taken a break from posting for a few months. Just I don't know. I think I was going pretty hardcore on my podcast. Like I said, I was editing it for like 5 hours.
Yeah.
Plus the interviews, plus the doing the research on the interviewee, editing, posting multiple reels. There's just a lot, and I just kind of got burnt out.
Right.
And I was probably going a little more intense than other people could or should. Like I think there was definitely a lot of things I could do that probably would have saved me half the time and I wouldn't have gotten burnt out. But I've taken that break and not posted. So like I don't know exactly like what's working now, but I've been during my break like learning Instagram from I bought like a kind of like a little course from this guy who's almost has 1 million followers. Like he knows what he's doing. And so I changed some things on my profile from what he said, and people just started following me.
Really?
Just from changing details on my Instagram account.
Interesting.
Yeah. And so I don't remember where I was going with that. But yeah, I haven't been posting much lately, but I'm about to launch a whole new thing. And so I'm going to start posting a lot more.
Yeah, I actually feel that like I'd say I was incredibly consistent for almost a year with content on Instagram, on the podcast, up until I went to Japan in April last year, so about a year ago. And it just, having that break, because like, while I was in Japan, I still had a backlog of episodes that I was still releasing and posting. But once I ran out and came back from Japan, I kind of took like a social media break just from like posting and everything, because I had gotten burnt out at that point because I was working pretty hard. And those breaks you got to be really careful about, at least for me personally, and if anyone's like me. The moment your mindset kind of like falls from the mindset it was in, from just like the grind, it's sometimes so hard to like get back into that.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Have you ever experienced that where you're just like, oh.
I'm feeling that right now. It's like, okay, got to get back in. I know I got to get back into it, and I'm ramping up to get back into it. But yeah, I'm feeling that where the mindset shifted a little bit.
Just wears, and it's like almost like draining to try to get back into it. But once you can get past that filter, then it's kind of easier again.
Yeah. I'm considering doing. Have you ever done 75 hard?
I actually did that in 2022.
Okay, nice. I think that's when I first started mine. It was. Yeah, that's when I first started it. But I'm thinking of doing that again.
Did you finish it the first time?
No,
Neither did I.
3 attempts.
I did 2 attempts. I did first one I failed on day 30. Second one I failed like another 15 days in, and then I was like, I kind of just stopped after that one.
Yeah.
But
yeah, I was pretty determined to finish it, and so I started. I think the first day I failed because I ate, just unconsciously ate some chocolate or something, because I mean that was part of the rules is like there's no deviating, like not even a little bit, you know how it is.
Yeah, exactly.
And so I ate some chocolate. I was like, crap.
And that's fail. Like you fail if you ate chocolate, right?
Uh-huh. So I started over.
For me, I missed a photo.
Oh, yeah.
That's all it was just but that's also part of it. If you don't take a photo, you fail.
Mm-hmm.
And I'd forgotten to do that, and I was like, no way.
Yeah.
Because my dad and his girlfriend were doing it, and they had convinced me to do it.
Mm-hmm.
So it's like, all right, let's do this. And I straight up told, I was like, guys, I missed a photo. I got to start over.
Sheesh.
It's like,
yeah.
It was like devastating.
Mm-hmm.
Especially 30 days in. I was like, dang.
Yeah. Yeah. But at least you did it right. You're not like, oh, I'll just continue.
Like, I'll just,
No.
because the whole thing is like building your mindset.
Mm-hmm.
And if you're not like honest with yourself like that, in terms of like, oh, well, I cheated a little bit, but that's okay. That's like, you're not building the mindset you need, if you're letting that slide.
For business, for a long-term relationship, for a lot of things.
Yeah,
it's like
every aspect of your life will follow that kind of pattern,
Mm-hmm.
Unless you can break it. So, yeah, it was tough though. I think the hardest part was trying to get the gallon of water in, because like some nights you're like, oh, I still have this much, I didn't drink enough, and you're like kind of chugging it.
Yeah.
Because you're like, I can't fail this, and then chugging too much water at once isn't good for you. But like, you don't want to fail.
Did you have a big jug that you carried around, or did you fill one up multiple times?
So I had a half jug. I had like half a gallon jug.
Okay.
So I'd fill that up twice a
Gotcha.
day.
And I feel like that's the way to do it, because I had a full gallon, and it's just a big thing of water to carry around, which I personally honestly didn't mind it that much, but I feel like having it like one that's half the size and just knowing, okay, I got to finish this by 2:00 or something like that, that just would have been easier. But it is kind of fun, like knowing like this is all the water I have to complete, and so you just feel it like get lighter and lighter throughout the day.
Yeah, one thing that helped a lot while I was doing it was my sleep. Like, it helped my sleep improve so much, because I was drinking plenty of water before bed, getting physical activity every day. It was like my sleep was just like pretty nice.
Yeah.
And then when I stopped, my sleep got bad again.
Oh yeah.
So it was like, maybe I just gotta. I was trying to continue some of the habits, like working out at least every day, and drinking a gallon of water. But the gallon of water kind of turned into half a gallon. But I'd say ever since then, I've been pretty good at drinking about half a gallon of water each day.
That's good. I recently, have not been good at drinking water, but before that I was.
Right.
But when I still drank a gallon of water and I wasn't doing 75 hard, I wasn't like sweating as much and like working out quite as much as I was doing 75 hard. So I was just going to the bathroom all the time. And so I was like, why? I feel like, I don't know, it was just annoying. So I ditched the gallon of water, and I should have bought a half gallon jug, because I feel like at least for me that should be my minimum, because I'm 200 pounds and I think I need at least that much water.
Right. Yeah. It's tough though. Especially if you're not used to drinking that amount of water.
Mm-hmm.
It's like, feels like you're drowning yourself.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
But yeah, so when you are doing your business, or you fall into those like kind of those eras or those times when you're like hard to kind of get back into the rhythm of things, what do you do to kind of help with that?
To get back into the rhythm?
Yeah, just doing things, working, grinding again.
Yeah, that's a good question. Man, to get back into it, I think nothing that changes me more or changes my mindset or like gets me more motivated than talking to people who are also building, or especially are further ahead than me.
Right.
I have a friend that I met through my podcast, and we just connected and we talk almost more than I talk to my mom. Like, and I'm really close to my family, but I swear I'm on the phone with him like 2 or 3 times a week for like an hour, 2 hours at a time. But it's just such a valuable phone call for me.
Right.
And I think for him too, like he has expertise that I don't have, and I have stuff that he doesn't have. So we're just adding a lot of value to each other. But like I had a call with him, we chatted yesterday, and he just helped me see some things where I have some limiting beliefs about myself and business and how much money that like I'm worth and that I could charge for my services. And that just really, just those phone calls with people that are further ahead than me, like really bring back that like self-belief, that motivation. It's like, wait, I can do this. Why am I not? Like, oh yeah, I shouldn't be doing this and this. Like he kind of helped me realize like, you're doing too much, Skylar. Like, let's just narrow it down to one, maybe two things.
Right.
He's like, you're spreading yourself too thin. That's why you're not getting as much done as you want to. And that's why you're getting overwhelmed. It's like, you're right. Why didn't I see that before?
Right. Yeah.
It's so obvious.
It's crazy, right? It's like, for me, that's how it is a lot for me too. Like I'll be like lacking that motivation. Like, oh, I don't want to do this today.
Mm-hmm.
And then if I just start talking to, say, some of my associates that I work with right now, my friends that I'm running the production company with, we'll like start talking, and we just start talking about the business and just talking about like, I don't know, just anything business related, success related. And I start to like feel a small bit of like adrenaline and like kind of energy suddenly like fill my body. I'm like, I gotta get stuff done. Yeah. It's like the motivation suddenly just comes. You know, I think talking to people about it, even if it's not someone that's say above you in terms of like success, if they're not further ahead of you with their success, if it's just someone you can talk to about those topics, it kind of gets that, you know, those gears turning in your head.
Yeah. You get excited about it.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
So that's definitely a good way to really get out of that.
Yeah.
Because that helps me a lot too. If not that, I think that's probably one of the bigger things in my life. Yeah. That does help me with that though.
It's relationships.
Yeah.
It's, to me, without relationships, what's the point of even being here?
I mean, humans are like social creatures. We need relationships in our lives.
Yeah.
So.
And that like, if you want to do more traveling, just get around people that go on trips more often.
Yeah.
If you want to start a podcast, get around podcasters. Like, I guarantee you're going to learn faster. You're going to start sooner. And if you want to make, let's say, $1 million faster, get around people who are making $1 million or have $1 million net worth. Like, they are going to be able to teach me things that I didn't know.
Yeah, the people you surround yourself. I mean, I know they say this a lot in like, a lot of like success gurus say this a lot too. They say, surround yourself with people that are like, for one, success oriented like you and have like are trying to build what you're trying to build, but also never be the smartest person in the room.
Yeah.
Because you don't, you know, if you surround yourself with people smarter than you, you'll learn from them. Yeah. You know?
So true. Yeah, I went to this little, this makes me sound really arrogant and dumb, but I went to this event and it was about podcasting, and the guy speaking, he's a cool guy and he knows things about podcasting, but a lot of the stuff he was talking about, for me, like, I already knew all this stuff. Like, it was a pretty basic, like, training, I guess.
Right.
So I just knew all this stuff. And a lot of the people in the room were just starting their podcasts. And I was like, I like being around podcasters, but I didn't really gain much from being there in the information sense. And so it's so true. Like, if you want to, like, move ahead the fastest, get around people that are doing way better than you.
Right. Yeah, exactly. And because then they'll influence you in ways you never even would have imagined until you got in that situation, right?
Yeah.
So it's kind of interesting. So we got to get wrapping up here soon, but I just had one more question for you. Yeah. I actually haven't asked this for a while because I usually would ask this to most of my guests, and then I kind of just stopped doing it because it's kind of a interesting question.
Okay.
But if the entire world was listening to you right now, what would you want to tell them?
I'd want to tell them, this would be advice that I would think that I would want to hear or need to hear, but it sounds cliche, but don't settle / whatever you want to do, start moving yourself in that direction. Like, if you ultimately want to be a YouTuber or you want to be an astronaut or something like that, like, get in that space. Like, just start where you are and start learning about it. Like, don't take a stepping stone. And this may be bad advice for certain people, but for me, it's like, don't take a stepping stone over here so you can get some sort of financial success or this kind of success. Then you can just go back to what you really want. I think the shortest route to where you want to be is a straight line. And so if you're doing all these things that aren't truly aligning with what you really want, I don't think you're gonna get there, and maybe you will. Just will take a lot longer. So just go straight for what you want. If you don't fail, you win.
Yeah. That I like that. That's a super good kind of thought to think about. Especially, I've had kind of a similar thought in terms of like, I would say don't turn down an opportunity if it's like not exactly where you want to be. So like, for example, I want to be a big podcaster traveling the world. And right now I'm starting a production company with my friends, which isn't exactly aligned with traveling the world right now, but it's a stepping stone in that direction towards
being a podcast.
Right.
Like you're going to learn so much from this.
Right. Exactly. And so it's in the direction that I'm trying to get, but it's not like exactly just trying to go straight to traveling the world. Cause sometimes you do have to like,
and ultimately you got to do whatever it takes. But
right.
Like if you were to go be like a car salesman and start making $5,000-$10,000 a month over there, like, are you really going to come back to what you're doing and like learn all this? Or I don't know. There's so many different ways to look at it. And I think ultimately you got to do what works for you. Like maybe for your situation, whoever it is, it might make sense to go take that job, and maybe you got to get out of debt really quick. Maybe that's so much stress, so like it's hard to give advice to everybody on one thing, but like ultimately analyze your situation. And I think a lot of times we have the answers for our own problems in our head, as long as we ask ourselves like the questions and write down what the answers are. But do what you truly want to do, and then find the best path for you to get there the fastest with the most success, and just go for it.
Couldn't have said it better myself.
Thank you.
Thank you for coming on the podcast, Skylar. Where can they find you on social media?
Social media, go to at Skylar Bytendorp on any platform. I've got, like you said, the Utah Podcast Studio, Utah Hustlers, and I'm launching something new, so look around for that. But all of it will lead to my main account. So if you just go there, you're going to be you will be able to find anything else I'm doing. So just Skylar Bytendorp, and yeah, from there you can connect with me more.
Cool. I'll just put some of his socials in the description as well, wherever you're listening. If you want to follow me on social media, just out at Reese's on Instagram, or Reese Shalvis if you want to follow my personal. And again, thank you so much for coming on, man. This was a good time.
Yeah.
Thank you guys for watching wherever it is that you're listening, whether it's the morning, daytime, nighttime. I hope you guys have a good one. Peace.
Nice.